The first automobile was invented 125 years ago by Carl Benz, and Mercedes-Benz is celebrating the occasion at various events, such as the Classic Days at Schloss Dyck near the German-Dutch border. The story began with Carl Benz's legendary three-wheeler in 1886. 2 years later, his wife Bertha made a groundbreaking 100-kilometer journey from Mannheim to Pforzheim. Jutta is the great-granddaughter of Carl Benz. She was fortunate enough, she explains, to be descended via the male line. That means she's the last Benz. Her great-grandmother was the first woman ever to drive a car. And she loves driving the ultimate vintage car. It's a different experience than with modern cars, she says, far more direct. You really have to be careful with the steering because it's so sensitive. A bit like power steering. And watch out, she says, it's all too easy to slip. And then you topple over. A trip back in time to the history of the automobile. That's what the visitors to the event on the old palace grounds are here for. All proceeds from the extravaganza go towards maintenance of the palace and the English-style landscape park dating from the 18th century. German celebrity chef Horst Lichter loves the atmosphere here. Everyone's so friendly, cheering all the way along this quaint little route, taking in old and new roads. Then there's the range of vehicles. You see a quickly moped rider. There's Germany's vintage Opel Club, plus Lamborghini, Ferrari, the old Bentley boys from England, the Bugattis from France. And everyone's in a good mood. Even when something goes wrong, people are patient with the organizers and admire their achievement. Back to Mercedes-Benz. In the decades following the very first automobile, the firm focused on high-profile cars, like this Mercedes 500K from 1936. Its supercharged 8-cylinder engine delivers 160 horsepower, and truly stunning looking both inside and outside. Its value today is hard to guess, but the owner probably wouldn't sell anyway. Unusually for a vintage car meet, there's also a camping section hosting historic caravans. The models seen here are not just here for show. Their proud possessors are spending the night in them while here. The event in general has a very relaxed and family-friendly atmosphere. But things are a bit more revved up here in the historic racing car section. Mercedes is honoring Formula One legend Juan Manuel Fangio, who was born 100 years ago. In 1955, he drove this car, a 300 SLR, to the third of his 5 world championships. Also known as the W196, it's one of the most famous cars in motorsports history. Former driver Hans Herrmann remembers the old days. He drove a 300 SLR at the Mille Miglia endurance race 50 years ago. Mercedes were totally dominant, he adds. Whenever he gets back into one of these cars, the memories and emotions come flooding back. He's really happy to attend events like this. Schloss Dyck is one of the best in his opinion.
Deshalb bin ich sehr, sehr gerne auch bei Veranstaltungen wie jetzt hier Schloss Dyck, welches einer der besten Veranstaltungen auch ist.
The 300 SLR from the manufacturer's own collection is put through its paces. Spectators lining the 2.8-kilometer circuit are eagerly awaiting the demonstration runs. At the wheel is 83-year-old Hans Herrmann. The former Formula One and Mille Miglia ace is one of the last surviving stars from that golden age of motorsports. Hans Herrmann still revels in the feel at the wheel and clearly still knows what he's doing. He really steps on it and goes for another lap before eventually returning to the pits. Visitors can also check out road-going models from over the decades. There's the Mercedes 220S, a landmark in automotive styling. Imposing but slick rather than a fancy figure. This mean machine, a 1957 convertible, boasts 6 cylinders, 2200 cc, and 100 horsepower. And there's another groundbreaking beauty on show here, the Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing Coupe. It's accompanied by one of its descendants. The W107 is classified as a modern classic. But it won't be that long until models like this star at vintage-only shows, together with design icons from yesteryear.